In today's episode, you need me to explain how I did not make a mistake a third time? You got it. Follow chemical spill guidelines? Okay, I'll leave then. So let's get started. You need me to explain how I did not make a mistake a third time? You got it. I've worked at the post office for just under 2 years. In fact, I just gave notice and this is my last week. My admin job is union, albeit a smaller, weaker one, and the postal workers have this massive, stronger union where everything that could possibly be considered a mistake turns into a grievance. My job involved bidding on assignments. These are temporary assignments to backfill people on extended sick leave, which with COVID got way busier. When bidding for other things, vacation, different shifts or schedules, and transfers, it's all about seniority. Whoever has been with the postal service the longest wins. There are a few positions where you have to prove you can do the specialized work, but most of it is just planned seniority. Getting seniority dates accurate and updated is crucial. We rely on them being accurate, but guess what? My team can't change them. It's the union and HR, and boy, they sure do like to take their sweet time. Anywho. Recently, we had a bidding for a whack of different positions, but it's not about plain seniority wins. The rules discussed and agreed upon with the union was people within the same section, regardless of shift, get first dibs at the positions, in seniority order of course. Then when all the section people's bids are considered, then postal workers outside the section get consideration, in seniority order of course. Because of this extra caveat, I have to do things differently than others on my team, and pay extra attention to where these people are by section, based on what's in the system and not whatever they feel like writing on the bid. They even take liberties with their seniority date, and heaven forbid they know their rank, number used when two workers have the same seniority date. I only do this bid every other month because it is time consuming to get it right, give everyone available a viable chance, get the paperwork to HR for payroll and schedule changes, give the workers and their supervisors notice, etc. Plus people are constantly coming and going affecting these assignments. COVID has made my job a lot harder, and with working remotely after being shoved into the 21st century, being afraid of catching COVID at the plant when I do go in because it's had 2 outbreaks and mask wearing is a joke there, helping the kids with virtual school and general pandemic fatigue. I managed to avoid any bypasses this round, by sheer perseverance and exhaustion, yet this one employee felt like I bypassed them and told their supervisor. Supervisor did the right thing by emailing me the concern and asking for a consideration. I looked into the matter and saw that while they had higher seniority than 2 workers who were awarded assignments, this worker was out of the section, so seniority was not priority for winning over the 2 who won. I laid out the scenario, attached the rules, and let the supervisor know to tell the worker no bypass occurred. The very next day, I get a local union rep catch me while at the office asking about the same worker, same concern. I tell them I had the supervisor ask me already and explained the above. Rep leaves satisfied. Then 2 days after that, and my second last day on the job, my supervisor forwards me an email from the union local president for the same. Damn. Worker. Cue malicious compliance. I used to just email the answer to my boss to reply, but decided to save us all time. I emailed the local's union president that my boss forwarded me their inquiry, that the worker asked their supervisor already too, and they got an answer. Copied the supervisor. I reattached the rules for them, remind them that the rules are posted in a glass case next to the bid posters and results, that the rules were agreed upon by the union's local reps, and I personally had a follow-up with a rep regarding questions. Clerks like me never talk to the union without my boss, but I earned the right to because I know how to keep my mouth shut. I attach a copy of the worker's bid since I scan all the bids that get considered and overlooked. I lay out what assignments the worker bid for. I stated the seniority date of all the people who won bids the worker tried for that have higher seniority, and the one that had lower was in the same section as the position being bid for, but the complaining worker was outside the section, so seniority did not help. Lastly, I confirmed the worker's seniority date as it is listed in the system because we can only use what's in the computer. Like I said, if there's a problem with the date, take it up with the union and HR. I end with this: fortunately, there's no bypass, as more junior and section workers are entitled to the assignment before more senior out of section, in this case. Please let the member know this, and we encourage them to continue to bid for future assignments. For those interested, my new job pays 25% more, plus better benefits, better industry. Letter mail is not really in demand, and while it is not as close to home, non-union, and probably more work than the job I'm leaving, I was experiencing workplace harassment, bullying, and my boss was ineffective at his job in supporting me. TLDR, on my second last day of work, a union worker tries 3 times to complain. I made a mistake in bypassing their bid, and I condescendingly over-explained to the union local president that I followed the rules, and the worker needs to STFU, read the rules, and try again next time. Follow chemical spill guidelines? Okay. So, this wasn't deliberately malicious compliance, but it probably felt malicious to the people who had to deal with it, so I figured you all might enjoy it for that reason. Years ago, I was working manufacturing as a shift supervisor. I was on an overnight shift working 11 p to 7 a. At around midnight, we were in the process of a line cleaning and setup. Part of the setup involves resupplying chemicals used on the line. While getting the chemicals out to the line, one of my operators dropped a large container of chemicals, somewhere on the order of a gallon-sized jug, and about half of it spilled onto the floor. These chemicals gave off pretty strong fumes that could be dangerous, so I had everyone leave the area where they were spilled. I called my supervisor a little before 1 a.m. and, being half asleep, I think he failed to appreciate the gravity of the situation and just said, "There's a spill response document, just follow it," and hung up. So, I found the spill response guideline that basically said if more than a few hundred milliliters of chemical spill, evacuate the entire area and call for the spill response team. Our company had a large facility about 20 miles away. They primarily did research there, but they also had a small fire department and chemical response team. They weren't staffed 24 hours, but they were on call 24 hours, so could be called in. The guidelines told me to ask our plant's security guard to contact the company's spill response team and request a chemical cleanup. So I did that. Our security guard was a contractor and didn't work directly for company security. So his instructions were, if you're asked to respond to any emergency that you can't handle yourself, contact company security. We call them global security. So rather than calling for the chemical response team, the guard, unbeknownst to me, contacts global security, but relays my exact request: we want the company spill response team to come out to our plant for a chemical cleanup. Global security decides they know our policies better than we do, so they decide to call the local fire department to respond. Around 1:30 a.m. or so, the local volunteer fire department shows up, and the first thing they ask for is the MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet, a sheet that contains basically all the known safety and hazard information for the chemical in question. Well, the chemical we're working with was a patent-pending compound that our company had invented. It didn't yet have an MSDS yet, so we could only supply them with the MSDSs of the chemicals that are used to make it. They weren't super pleased with that. By about 2 a.m., the plant safety manager had been called in, and I had the distinct impression she was pretty pissed off at the whole situation. Global security had also arrived, and they're now trying to get the fire department to wait until they can get a hold of the company's chemical spill response team. The fire department basically winds up saying, "We'll give you 30 minutes, if they're not here by then, we're going in with full respirators and you're going to replace all our respirators when we're done." By about 3 a.m., our company's spill response team shows up, and they're able to go in and start cleaning. I found out later that the spill response team also works as volunteer EMS, and had just finished up a call around 12:30 that night. If security had called them as soon as the spill had happened, they would have just been able to drive straight here. Instead, they had already gone home and gone to bed when they got the call. The fire department wound up demanding that the company start implementing regular training and coordination sessions so they could better respond in case of another call to our plant. It took 6 to 12 months to coordinate and start that program. And I heard that global security got reamed out pretty hard for not following our request for the company's spill response team. The best part for me was seeing the face of my manager when he came in, late, that morning. He looked like he had seen a ghost when he realized what had happened. He never talked about the incident with me. I wound up staying close to 10 to review what had happened with everyone. Our plant manager was very supportive/gracious, said I had done the right thing, and appreciated me staying to review the incident with everyone. Okay, I'll leave then. I was inspired to tell this story after reading another similar one earlier today. So a few years ago I was a barista at a well-known coffee shop that features green aprons. It was a pretty good gig in a tourist town that saw easily 1.5 million tourists per year. Especially around Christmas. During the month of December, the lobby would be so full people were waiting outside, and the drive-through lines sometimes caused traffic to back up on the main road. The manager who hired me was an absolute gem. When I was hired, I explained that I had CPTSD from an abusive relationship. She was totally cool with this, and we had a system worked out where if I started having a bad panic attack, I could switch to washing dishes, and she would send someone else out to deal with customers for an hour or two. I didn't use this often, but I was thankful this was in place when I needed it. Unfortunately, this manager ended up stepping down after the tragic death of her child. I don't fault her for this, but it really sucked. For the first 2 months, we were without a manager. Managers from other stores were filling in when needed, and since I also would work at a few different stores, they knew me and gave the same treatment. If I had a panic attack, I could go wash dishes or do the trash/restock, so I could have a moment of quiet. The new manager getting hired. He was a total ass and basically thought mental health was BS and just an excuse. Welp, December rolls around and we are bombarded again. I had been on front register for 3 hours and felt that familiar chest tightening feeling again. I explained to him what was going on, and asked if I could switch out for dishes/back room work for a bit to calm down. He looked at me like I was absolute trash and replied, "No. I already have everyone where I want them, and if you don't like it, you can just leave." So, I did just that. I went to the back, packed up my stuff, and walked out the door on one of the busiest days of the year. He was left having to cover dishes and register for the day. I didn't find out about the fallout until weeks later after I'd been working at my new job and one of my old coworkers came in. Apparently, my leaving was just the beginning of over half the staff quitting because of his constant abuse, and by the end of the month only about 3 original staff were left, and he was scrambling to hire and train people during the busiest month of the year. Thanks for watching.